Prime Minister Mark Carney is heading back to the White House next week to meet Donald Trump as challenges with the U.S. president remain as volatile as ever. The Canada-U.S. trade and security relationship tops the agenda as Trump's tariffs continue to weigh heavy on Canada's economy.
In the marbled corridors of power, where handshakes can forge fortunes or fracture futures, a storm is brewing across the 49th parallel. Tomorrow, October 7th, 2025, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney steps into the White House for a high-stakes sit-down with U.S. President Donald Trump, their third face-to-face tango since May, but the first laced with the raw edge of economic brinkmanship. Billed as a working visit, this 90-minute Oval Office clash crackles with the potential for detonation. Steel tariffs clamping down at 25%, aluminum duties surging to 35%, lumber levies stacking to an effective 45% stranglehold, and the specter of 25% auto tariffs looming like a guillotine over the Detroit-Windsor corridor. As the 2026 USMCA review casts its long shadow, will Carney coax concessions from Trump's America First fortress, or will the president's infamous 51st state barbs half joke, half jab ignite a retaliatory blaze that scorches supply chains from Vancouver to Veracruz? Ontario Premier Doug Ford's rallying cry rings clear. Fight like hell. With Canada shipping over $600 billion in goods south annually and tariffs already carving out $2 billion in steel sector scars alone, this isn't diplomacy. It's a duel with dynamite. To navigate the fault lines, let's trace the tension from uneasy alliance to powder keg. Their unlikely rapport traces a jagged arc through the debris of disrupted deals, evolving from cautious compliments to the brink of breakdown. It kicked off in May with Carney's inaugural White House whirl, where Trump dangled tariff teases over post-election pleasantries, praising the ex-Bank of England chief as a smart cookie who gets markets. June's G7 gathering in Kananaskis thawed further, Carney lauding Trump's energy realism, Trump nodding to Canadian LNG as a win-win against Russian gas. Yet beneath the bonhomie, fault lines festered. Carney, the Oxford-honed economist who steered Canada through the 2008 crash as Bank of Canada governor, entered as Trump's globalist counterpoint, a WEF darling clashing with the MAGA maverick, but shared stakes in Arctic security and clean tech bridged gaps, even as Trump's revival of 2018-era duties in March 2025, 25% on steel, 10% on aluminum, now hiked, ignited fresh fury. Canada fired back with counter tariffs on U.S. whiskey and yogurt, only to partially unwind them. September 1, sparing most goods, but sparing none. The sting on autos, steel, and aluminum. The lumber escalation hit September 30, a 10% add-on atop 35% anti-dumping walls, justified under Section 232's national security cloak, targeting softwood that frames 1 in 5 American homes. Autos? Trump's June threat of 25% levies if USMCA quotas falter hangs like a sword, threatening 100,000 jobs in Ontario's assembly lines. Broader still, Trump's Golden Dome missile shield pitch weaves defense into trade, demanding Canadian buy-in for tariff mercy. Carney arrives pragmatic, modest expectations, his team whispers, eyes on steel relief amid the 2026 USMCA audit that could rewrite rules on dairy, digital taxes, and dispute panels. As one Ottawa veteran quipped, this tango's turned tango with thorns. Carney's banker charm versus Trump's dealmaker bravado. Peel back the schedule, and the agenda emerges as a battlefield ledger, each line a potential flashpoint in closed-door chess. Carney jets south, Monday evening, entourage in tow. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne, Trade Sherpa Mary Ng, and a phalanx of sector envoys from Stelco to Unifor. Tuesdays 10 a.m. Kickoff unfolds in the Oval's gilded glow, 90 minutes of bilateral brinkmanship, capped by a working lunch in the state dining room. No press pool, no fanfare, just interpreters and iron wills. Point. A surgical strike on tariffs first. Canada pushes for steel and aluminum carve outs to 10 to 15%, citing compliant mills under USMCA rules and pleading overcapacity woes that shuttered 5,000 jobs since March. Trump counters with border security sweeteners, more Canadian patrols on fentanyl flows, and dairy quota expansions, echoing his 2018 USMCA hardball. Lumber looms large. Ottawa seeks exemptions or caps to blunt the $1 billion annual hit, arguing Crown land subsidies are myth while U.S. environmental red tape starves domestic harvests. Furniture and cabinets? That fresh 25% levy ballooning to 50% in 2026 draws pleas for grace periods, lest hotel renos and kitchen flips grind to a halt. Autos form the apex, shield the sector from Trump's threatened 25% wall, in exchange for LNG fast tracks and oil pipeline nods. USMCA's review anchors it all. Carney floats a climate chapter addendum for green steel swaps, while Trump eyes 51st state opt-ins as jest, demanding deeper defense integration like NORAD overhauls. Side dishes? Arctic pacts on rare earth mining and Golden Dome funding, with full counter-tariff rollbacks as Trump's ace. Carney's line, better to take the risk progress on steel is possible. Trump's tease, via Truth Social, will make a deal. Canada's got the best one going, but time to pay the piper. Envision the tableau, charts unfurled, coffee cooling, as billions balance on a broker's nod. The fallout, should sparks fly unchecked, ripples like a seismic wave from factory floors to family tables, quantifying a catastrophe that no border wall can contain. Tariffs have already nicked 0.5% off Canada's GDP, with steel and aluminum alone imperiling 50,000 jobs in Ontario and Quebec's smelters. Hamilton's ArcelorMittal idling shifts, Quebec's Rio Tinto staring down $500 million in losses. Lumber's latest lash, 10,000 more at risk in British Columbia's mills, where logs rot unsold and towns like Prince George teeter on welfare wires. Pile on autos, and the math multiplies. A 25% duty could freeze $100 billion in cross-border flows, idling Windsor plants and spiking truck prices by 20% per uniform math. The loonies plunge to a 4.5-month low, dipping below 72 US cents amid oil's tumble amplifies the ache, inflating import bills for everything from iPhones to insulin. Relief though, a steel dip saves $500 million yearly. Thawing USMCA could unlock $20 billion in trade velocity. Stalemate? Ottawa's retaliation playbook, $5 billion in duties on US cheese, motorcycles, and maple rivals escalates to mutual mutilation, hiking consumer tabs south of the border by $300 per home in lumber alone. Humanize it in Sault-Ste. Marie's steel shadows. Welders like Maria Gonzalez clock overtime to offset duty-driven shortfalls, whispering prayers for Carney's gamble. Across the bridge in Detroit, assemblers eye the same abyss, where shared lines mean shared pain. U.S. builders gripe the costs, but Trump's base cheers the shield until inflation bites back. This isn't ledger lines, it's livelihoods on the line, a continental economy wheezing under weights meant for foes, not friends. The chorus from the Coliseum roars with raw partisan passion, a cacophony underscoring Canada's fractured front as Carney crosses the line. Doug Ford, the pugilistic premier, pounds the podium. Fight like hell. Don't come back empty-handed. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre tempers well wishes with a whip. Carney's caved before, deliver results or bust, tying it to his axe the tax crusade against perceived liberal limpness. NDP's Jagmeet Singh skewers the spend. Billions for border brokering while rents ravage families. Industry amplifies the urgency. Steel Producers Association's Terry Humphreys demands relief now or shutdowns, while the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association warns of devastation if autos ignite. X erupts in a digital Donnybrook. Carney Trump surges with 10,000 posts in 48 hours. A meme-fueled maelstrom of knee pads for Carney. Snark from Trump trolls and win the war. War cries from Patriot PACs. One viral vent from a Sarnia steelworker. Carney's our shot. Nail the deal or we're nailed. Counter. A Toronto traders thread. Coward on borders. Trump's eating our lunch. Polls pulse pessimism. CTV's Snap survey pegs 60% doubting breakthroughs, yet 70% back the bravado. Southward, Senator Marco Rubio hails tough talks for tough times, while U.S. builders' lobbies lament lumber hikes, even as open letters flood Carney's feed, urging F-35 scrutiny and zero tariff zeal. The vibe vibrates with velvet-gloved urgency. Unity fractures, but the undercurrent unites in dread of detonation. Through the scrim of sound bites, the calculus crystallizes, high-wire hope laced with hedgehog hazards, where modest mercies could douse flames or fan them feral. Bullish bets hinge on Carney's velvet hammer, his crisis, cred as a 2008 savior disarming Trump's deal lust, snagging steel slippage as a USMCA goodwill gesture. A partial thaw builds momentum, easing 2026 reviews where dairy doors crack wider and climate clauses cool tempers. Bearish breaths, stasis spawns spite, retaliation rounds 2 through 5, eroding trust as 51st state. Memes metastasize into nationalist nodules, per BNN. Bloomberg's dissection, experts etch equilibrium. High risk, low bar nail. One front like steel, avert the blast. Council's trade sage, Goldie Hyder, nodding to global echoes like China's tariff tit for tat. Domestically, Carney's 2026 poll pulse quickens. A win burnishes his banker brand. A whiff withers it amid Poilievre's shadowboxing. Globally, it ripples. USMCA's fate sways Indo-Pacific pacs, where Trump's playbook preys on perceived weakness. Forward fire, post-meet readouts by noon Tuesday, WTO panels primed if pacs perish. In this border ballet, Carney's no novice, but Trump's the tempest extinguisher or exploder? The scales tip on subtleties, where a nod averts Armageddon, a snub summons it. As the clock carves toward Tuesday's dawn, Carney versus Trump stands as a tinderbox tableau, a bid for bilateral balm amid the bonfire of vanities, where tariffs tether two titans in uneasy embrace. Will oval optics yield olive branches, steel softened, autos armored, or headlines howling of hardened hearts and hurled gauntlets? In this high-stakes harbor, every utterance risks upending the apple cart of alliance, from Arctic accords to assembly line rhythms. One verity vaults above the vortex. North America's narrative isn't scripted in solitude. It's co-authored in confrontation's crucible. Predict the punchline deal, dawn or dud dusk. Voice it in the comments, and subscribe for the post-parlay pulse. As Carney crosses into the Colossus's keep, remember, in trade's treacherous tide, handshakes heal or herald the hurricane.